Hello and welcome. Today we are going to make at-home sushi. I know what it's going to sound intimidating, but I promise you I will walk you through it just like I walk you through data and dashboards. It's a great way to impress your friends, your dates. If I had friends or dates, I would impress them with this, but I don't. So just eating it all by myself. All right, so let's get started. Let's go over our ingredients and our equipment that we're going to need. So first of all, with ingredients, obviously we are going to need some sushi rice. So this is the brand that I use. I use this one, Nishiki, this one right here. I use this brand, and you're definitely going to want sushi rice, not just regular white rice. There are various types of rice, but sushi rice is what you are going for. Next, we're going to use some nori or some seaweed paper, some dried seaweed paper. And here what you want the ones that have this perforation happening, these little grooves and cuts. That is going to help us out in our next steps. In addition, what we're going to need is we are going to need some rice vinegar. I use this one, Marukan rice vinegar. We're going to use this. We're also going to need some sugar, some white sugar, and we're going to need some salt. For extras, you're going to use some soy sauce, avocados, chives, and now for the real part, sushi fish. You can't just buy regular fish. It has to be prepped for sushi. And what that means is that when these fish are caught, they're instantly drained and they are frozen right away so that there's no bacteria growth on it. So you can make it easier on yourself. If you happen to go to an Asian grocery store, I just call it grocery store, they might have some of these pre-cut sushi fish pieces already. So here we have some salmon, here we have some lovely looking tuna. Okay, we're going to use this to help us out. Now for the equipment, what you're going to need a cutting board. If you have one of these bamboo sushi wrappers, this is going to be very, very key. You're going to need a sharp chef's knife, a plastic spoon with a pretty wide surface area. That's going to be super helpful. A deep kind of rectangular trough, we're going to use that. You're going to need a couple bowls. We're going to put water in one of them and the sushi seasoning in another. You're also going to need a microfiber cloth. If you have one, you don't need it. You can use a paper towel. We're going to do this later. And if you have some measuring utensils, we're going to use this too. Next, let's talk about how we're going to prep the rice. We have two ways that we're going to do it. One way is you could use a pot with a lid. You're going to definitely need that lid on there. The better way, honestly, just use a rice cooker. Okay, those are our ingredients. Let's get started. Okay, let's talk rice. So first what we're going to do with our rice is I'm going to do 1 cup in my rice cooker, and I'm going to do later 1 cup in the pot, just to show you both methods. First of all, we have to wash the rice. Regardless of whichever method you're using, we need to wash it. All right, so first what I'm going to do, I'm going to add 1 cup of my short-grained sushi rice. Then to wash it, I'm going to add some cold water. All we're going to do right now is we're just going to stir it up. And what we're trying to do, you see how the water is getting cloudy? We're trying to get some of this starch out of here. All right, we're going to drain this water now. Pro tip, when you're draining the water, if you slowly spin your container, you will get water out without dumping the actual rice. Good. We're going to repeat this step 2 more times. Look at this, the water's looking much clearer. That's what we are looking for. Okay, now rice cookers are different, so we're going to add, in this rice cooker, we're going to add 1 cup of water because we have 1 cup of rice. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to let it sit for 20 minutes to soak up the water, and then we're going to transfer to our rice cooker, set it on sushi mode, and let it go from there. If you don't have a rice cooker and you want to use a pot, we're going to do the same-ish method. First, we're going to put in a cup of white rice. And now we got to clean it. Remember, you can spin the pot slowly so that water comes out, but rice doesn't just fly all over the place. We're not using any colanders. No need to do that. Hey, since we're going to use a pot this time, we're going to lose some water in the steam process. So we're going to add 1 cup of rice is going to get almost 2 cups of water. Cover it and let it sit for 20 minutes. All right, it's been 20 minutes. Now we are going to cook the soaked rice on our burner. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm first going to set my burner on high. Set it, get it going for 10 minutes, drop the heat to about a medium, and then for 5 minutes, or a simmering for 5 minutes, and then we're gonna just take it off the heat for another 5 minutes. Hey, and what you want is you want one that has a steam vent, because that's gonna allow us to, we wanna keep steam, but we don't want it to overflow. Another big thing that I have learned from doing it this way is if you can have a taller pot, it's going to be better, so you just reduce the risk of overflowing happening. All right, so you see this? You see the boiling happening? What we're gonna do is we're gonna let this go for about, we're gonna really monitor it. We can't walk away. 10 minutes might even be too much. I'm gonna monitor it, and I'm gonna count close to 10, and then I'm gonna turn it down to a medium. Yeah, so it's coming up, right? Let's put some steam to get away from us. And you see how it's really coming up? That tells me it's good, so I'm gonna turn this down already. Good, I'm gonna turn it down to a simmer. So I'm turning this down to a simmer. I don't want overboiling to happen. Okay, so we're gonna do this method where we bring it up to a boil, and once we hit a boil, we're going to simmer it for about 5 minutes, then take it off the heat for another 5 minutes. All right, my timer went off. I'm going to turn off my burner. Take this off, let it rest, and we're going to do another 5 minutes of just letting the rice sit. All right, we have our 2 methods. Let's take a look and see. So look at that steam, looks good. This is our sushi rice. It's a little damp, not the best. It could use some more time. Let's go take a look at our rice maker. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks great. Now let's test it. Oh yeah, much better. Okay, so now we're going to take our rice, and we're going to put it into one of these types of basins. We need the rice to cool off. We can't really make the seasoning yet and put stuff in it. Can't put the seasoning in yet if it's too hot. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to make these horizontal lines because I need this thing to cool down. And what you can do to help it cool down, if you want to, you can fan it. But we need it to be cool so that we can start to season it. All right, while that is cooling, it's time to work on our sushi seasoning. We have 1 cup of rice. I have my other pot rice that's just sitting in case I want to use it again. So I'm going to imagine I have 2 cups of rice, but I'm really going to use 1. So if I have 2 cups, I'm going to use half a cup of rice vinegar. That's our first one that we're going to do. 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to give that a very good stirring. All right, we have our rice. Looks, feels great. It's about a little warmer than body temperature, but you can see I'm touching it. It's not too hot. Okay, hey, super important. I screwed this up all the time when I was first starting. Our mixture that we just made, we don't want to go dumping it. I'm only going to try to use half of this. But even half, I'm not going to go full throttle. I'm just going to go easy on it. I'm going to take my rice spoon. I'm going to pour this on the back of the spoon and kind of just sprinkle it around very cautiously. I'm not going to go nuts on this. Yeah, that's good. And then I'm just going to make cuts again as we keep going. And the goal that you're kind of looking for, how do you know what you're doing? You want almost every grain to be coated with our seasoning that we did. That is what we are looking for. But you don't want it to be damp. You don't want it to be wet. We're not looking for that at all. So I can feel drier spots right here. That's where I would add some more seasoning to it, being very cautious of how I'm doing it. Remember, you can add more, but you can't take it out. Okay, this feels pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Now it's time to get rolling. Okay, now that we have our rice ready, we're gonna get ready to start putting it all together. So here's what you're gonna need. You're going to need your nori, you're going to need your fish, and we're going to need a bowl of water. I'm also going to add a little bit of our seasoning into this bowl. Cool. I'm going to fill it with water, and if you happen to have one, a microfiber cloth, you are going to see why. All right, let's get ready. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to try a nigiri. So nigiri is with some rice and fish. That's it. Okay, so we don't want to just go in. The rice is going to stick to your fingers. So we're going to use the water that we have to coat our fingers a little bit. So I'm going to dip my hands in some water. Cool. And what I want is I want enough rice to be like a ping pong ball. That's about it. That's about the size that I want. Cool. So here's the technique. We are going to squeeze it, 2 fingers. We're going to push and we're squeezing. Cool. Yeah. You have a little bit over. It's okay. Just push it all together. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of fish. In this case, what I want to use is I want to use some of my tuna. This beautiful tuna right here. And this is the trick we're going to do. We're going to actually put the fish side into our palm. And then, so it's in my palm, and then I'm going to cover it. I'm going to squeeze it in. And now I use my fingers again to press. So I'm pressing, and I'm forming it, I'm shaping it. And that is the little trick that we're going to do. And I really want it to be kind of right at the same length. So I'm shaping it, and look at that. We just made our first nigiri. All right, I'm going to put that over on the side. Let's do it again. I'm going to take another piece of tuna. And right here, I'm going to take my knife, and I'm going to make very little slices. I'm not trying to cut it in half. I'm just trying to make a couple more slices like that. So if you can see, I have these slices going. Now take my fish, slice side down, cup it, 2 fingers, do my little push. And there's a reason why I want to show you this way. And there is our second piece of nigiri. So why are we doing this? Well, it does a couple of things. Having the cuts helps the fish bend better to the shape of the rice. But also that way, if I put any type of shoyu or soy sauce on it, it'll go into the fish to make it a little bit more flavorful. Look at that. Look how good that looks. All right, now it's time to actually make the sushi. So first I'm going to lay down my bamboo mat. Next thing I need is I need my nori. Okay, so let me show you something first of all. We have our perforation here. We have something called the shiny side, as you can see, and our rough side. We're going to put our rough side parallel to the straw in the bamboo mat. Okay, so now I'm going to coat my hands again. Now we're going to take the rice and just plop it down, but we want to cover the whole thing. We want the edges covered. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plop it down just like so, moving it, moving it, moving it. And hey, once that rice hits, it kind of hits. It kind of sticks. So our job is to smush it out a little bit. We want a very thin layer of rice all around. And see, I'm just pushing, Good. What you want to be able to do is you want to kind of be able to see the green behind it, but you don't want to have spotty patches. Okay, look, we covered most of the surface area. So now we can start putting things in it. I'm going to take an avocado. So now I'm going to take my slices, and you want it to be as uniform as you can, one row. You don't want one massive bite of avocado or whatever you want. Cool, that's good enough. All right, so now I'm going to take some of my fish. I'm going to take this and I'm going to do some longer slices too. Watching my fingers, I'm curling my fingers in like so. And there we go. I'm going to put it down. Looking good, looking good, looking good. And you see this? I have a little bit too much. That's cool. I'm going to just cut it off. Not a big deal. So now we are ready to roll it. Here's how we're going to do this. We're going to take our bamboo sheet. We're going to flip it over. And as we're turning it, we're kind of crunching it in. Okay, so watch. I'm going to flip it over to my fingers. As I turn it, there we go. Beautiful. And I'm going to crunch it in, forming this shape ready. Yep, 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 yep. And here's what I can do too. I can pull it back with my fingers as I'm pulling the bamboo sheet forward. You see this little inchworming? If you know jiu-jitsu, this is called inchworming your fingers. And I can form it. I can reform it again. Good. Oh yeah, look at that. Looking good. Okay, so you know how I said to get a microfiber towel? This is why. See all that residue? We need to have a very sharp, very clean knife to cut this correctly. Cool. So after every cut, we are honestly going to wipe down our knife again. Cut, wipe, cut. Because if you don't, the residue from the rice will get onto your knife and it's going to make everything stick. Little slit to get me situated. Good. Nice. And now I'm going to see this residue. I'm going to wipe that off. Hey, look, we did it. We did it. We made sushi at home. So we took some raw ingredients, really raw ingredients like raw fish. We were able to take our time, get the rice down, form it correctly, make it look good, and that's what we're able to do. Now, I'll give you a couple pointers here with sushi. When I was in Japan, I did a day in Japan and I went to the famous fish market, and I remember I sat at a sushi bar. I sat right there and I was talking to the sushi chef and learned a lot of big things. So number one, sushi is a finger food. You actually don't need chopsticks. You're supposed to eat it with your hands. The ginger is really a palate cleanser in between bites. That green stuff, wasabi, what we usually get in the grocery store or at a restaurant is green horseradish. You really want wasabi. So I have powdered wasabi here. I just add a little bit of water to it. That's how I make it. And this soy sauce is shoyu. You just, truthfully, if you go to a good place, they should do it for you, where you don't even have to do anything, just eat it. They're supposed to season it or flavor it, so it's perfect, right? It's kind of rude when you just, without tasting it, dunk it in and then eat it because you're not trusting the sushi chef. Another thing too, as I see this, we're not mixing wasabi with the soy sauce. Those two things are very different things. But there you go. All right, let's give it a shot. All right, I'm going to do this one. That is like nourishing. That's what I need. Let's do next one of these tunas. Yeah, buddy. Good. It's great. Simple, amazing, great. All right, good luck. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see your creation, and I'd love to know how it goes.